This video is not intended for kids.
Cronus Network. Part 1 of 2.
Alright, so today's the day that Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker releases to the general public. Okay, so I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I don't do a lot of Star Wars content because, let's face it, the Star Wars community has been a little toxic since The Last Jedi. Okay, so the reviews that have come out haven't been great.
But it isn't all bad. As we see here, the critics are pretty much split on this, whereas they were universally in favor of The Last Jedi. They seem torn with this one, and fans were pretty torn on The Last Jedi.
So hopefully I will have really great things to say about this film. It's got a lot of work to do. You know, I wonder what my roommate thinks about these negative reviews. I got a roommate the other day, and he's a curious fellow, very big Star Wars fan. I think his name is John. He only answers to Trooper. He wears a stormtrooper helmet all the time. I don't know what he looks like, but he's well financed, and you know, he's okay. I'm gonna FaceTime him. Hey, John. Trooper.
Yes, it is I, the Trooper. These critics are of no consequence. The rise of Palpatine shall be triumphant and absolute. Hoorah!
You know it's the Rise of Skywalker, right?
I'm not calling it that. This is the rise of Palpatine. All hail!
Yeah, okay.
This shall be a day long remembered.
Well, clearly that's an opinion.
Stupid rebel scum roommate.
You know what would be really great if I could just get my inner child on FaceTime. I could just call my inner child and ask him, how do you feel about these reviews for The Rise of Skywalker, and see how my inner child feels about it. It's, I can do that. I could conjure that. Let's FaceTime's a wonderful thing. I'm pretty sure I can get it to happen.
Hello, old me!
Hey, how you doing?
Wow, I'm old! Look at all that gray hair!
You're a puppet.
Hey, I'm a person! I'm Puppet Gabe!
Puppet Gabe.
What were you expecting?
What do you think of the reviews for The Rise of Skywalker?
These critics have no idea what they're talking about! The Rise of Skywalker is gonna be awesome! Luke Skywalker isn't dead! He's going to come back! With a laser sword and face down the entire First Order!
I don't think that's gonna...
I have spoken!
You know that's entirely...
Nope! Not listening!
Because... Listen,
Nope!
come on.
Go away! Ah!
Okay, so clearly a little defensive. He's having trouble processing this, but he's optimistic and whatnot. Anyway, I'm on my way now. I'm gonna go see this movie.
It's actually the middle of the night on Saturday. So I saw this film on Thursday, and I have since seen it a couple of more times. I wanted to be really sure about this film before I spoke about it, because this is Star Wars, and I love Star Wars, and I don't want to make a gut reaction review about a film that I may change my mind about in time. Star Wars has a way of doing that because of the way it's structured, because of all the supplemental materials that are provided after the film that fills in the gaps. Now, this film in particular, I feel is relying on that way too heavily. Listen, I liked The Last Jedi, and a lot of you are probably going to be turned off by that, but I liked it. And I will make a video explaining why I think The Last Jedi is a great Star Wars movie. But this isn't about The Last Jedi. This is about The Rise of Skywalker. Only JJ seems to have forgotten that he was making a separate movie. This movie, in a sense, should be its own thing, and in a sense, should be connected to the trilogy. What do I mean by that? Well, it should continue and evolve what came before. But it should be its own thing. It should not be concerned with undoing what the previous film did. And unfortunately, this movie leans very heavily into retconning. Now, they don't call it retconning. JJ's gone on record saying that he wasn't going to retcon anything from The Last Jedi. And he can say that till he's blue in the face. He was absolutely trying to retcon The Last Jedi. Not only did he retcon a bunch of stuff, but it seemed so heavy-handed and so obvious that he was doing it that while it was going on, I half expected the characters to look at the camera, wink, and say, you see what we did there? We fixed it. We're sorry. We're sorry about The Last Jedi. We fixed it. Are you happy now? Let's talk a little bit just about this film, and not so much about the controversy of JJ trying to retcon The Last Jedi. So, this film on its own is a fantastic action adventure in space. And in a sense, that's all Star Wars needs to be. Just be an imaginative action adventure in space. And if this was a separate movie outside of a trilogy that was just a separate standalone adventure, it would work on that level, I believe. Because you could address some of the things that are brought up in the lore in the main storyline later. And it wouldn't be as jarring. But this is the main saga and the last installment of a trilogy. And to come up with all these elements of lore that are not explained in any kind of detail, and when you apply them to the previous movies, kind of breaks the continuity and the congruency that you've come to be accustomed to. And not in a creative, subvert your expectations kind of way, just in a convenient plot device, this power exists because the script demands that it exists. There's a lot of that in this movie. Things happen because the script said so. You know, Palpatine is back. Why? Script says so. Knights of Ren, JJ brings back the Knights of Ren, and he does not explain where they've been or why they just appear. They literally just appear. And in a very heavy-handed scene, a stormtrooper actually says, hey, look, those are the Knights of Ren. Because that's apparently how we introduce characters now. There are a lot of things about this movie that work and that are satisfying and that fans are going to really, really, really gravitate towards and enjoy. But when you put it into the proper context of this trilogy, you're going to find that it doesn't add up. There's this term, it's always been, for about 5 minutes now. And that's when a storyline says, hey, these things always were. These things were always happening. You just didn't know they were happening.
And it's always been that way. And it's all been leading to this. Just trust us. It was all leading to this. Except that the pieces that came previously don't do that. They don't create the flow that leads to the conclusion that you've decided we're going to go with. Do I hate this movie? No. Do I love this movie? No. I think that's all I can say without spoiling anything. So with that in mind, we're going to take a deep dive now. And I'm going to go ahead and cue the spoiler alert because it's about to get real.
Part 2 of 2. Uploading soon.